Hey, Living Guardians, Unseen Inquisitor here. September 1st is fast approaching. This is the launch date for the Legend Raid. And while we don't have an official name yet for the raid they picked for Legend Raiding, there are things we can do to prepare specifically for the contest mode version of the Legend Raid, which will be the one that they've used for the first, I believe, 48 hours now. So while we don't know the raid, we can prepare for contest mode independently, and that will trickle into whatever raid it is. This is universal preparation for contest mode, because whatever we do to prepare for this will only help the raid out, whatever it might be. And I'll come back and do a follow-up video for a more refined approach to preparing specifically for whatever raid it is once they announce it. So pull up some chair, hang out, and share your thoughts in the comment section down below and be part of the conversation on how to prepare for contest mode itself. Contest mode, basically it locks us, right? It locks us in power to, at best, the best we can be is 20 power below the current encounter of whatever encounter we're on in the raid. I say it that way and it's worded that way because the encounters change in power level as you go through a raid. The most powerful encounter will be the last one. The weakest encounter power level wise will be the first one. All throughout it will be constantly locked in at best 20 power below the respective encounter's power level. So this puts into question the idea of survivability and DPS. Whether it's ad clear or actual boss damage, the raid becomes a massive DPS check after DPS check with the survivability stress test throughout it as well. So how can we prepare for this? Well, there's some basic stuff we can do in-game, and then there's stuff you gotta do in your mind. So firstly, basic seasonal prep will work wonders here. If you haven't done this yet for a season, it's been going on for many a season now, this is where you stock up on bounties, complete them, but do not turn them in, because once they're completed, they don't expire. So you hold on to your completed bounties, and when the next season goes live, you get your seasonal artifact unlocked, and then you turn in the bounties. This gives you a bump to your season pass level, as well as a bump to your artifact experience to help out in the form of really, artifact power is fine, but really to get the mods. Right, this will help us get rolling and getting the mods unlocked to both give us mods for champion stunning in terms of weapons, and then mods to help out specific builds, whatever they might be. And this is done for any season, not just one with a raid in it. And it's been working thus far, and it doesn't really hurt to try it out. Worst case scenario, Bungie makes it so it doesn't work anymore, whatever. Best case scenario, you get a quick boost, a quick little booster shot, if you will, into your season pass level and your artifact rank up. So that's one thing we can do. The other thing we can do is quite obvious, which is powering up pinnacle power, right? From my understanding, 1810 will still be the pinnacle power for season 22. I think that's the right move, and I think it makes it even easier to prepare for this particular contest mode, because we've been in 1810 for 2 seasons worth of time, launch of Lightfall, and now season 21. We have had a good amount of time to get to pinnacle power. So you're either, chances are you're probably there or close to it if you've been playing since Lightfall. RNG can be very cruel, of course. Need a class item, always get boots. We've all been there. In any case, once you're at pinnacle power for your main way of playing your Guardian, you of course want to then branch out and get pinnacle power for all the ways you play that Guardian, right? So what I mean by that is different builds, different loadout saves, aka different exotic pieces and potentially different weapons. You want all the things you would use in all of your go-to loadouts to be pinnacle power. But we're not done with powering up, because this transitions into the mindset, and part of that is establishing a toolbox, and we need to power things up to put it in the toolbox. The toolbox is predominantly exotic armor and weapons, with maybe a legendary weapon or 2 sprinkled in there, but predominantly exotic armor and weapons that you have ready to go at pinnacle power, theoretically, for your Guardian to swap to if needed during contest mode. It can be in your inventory, it can be in the vault, whatever it is, as long as you're able to actually get it, to your Guardian somehow to equip if needed to experiment. And therefore, whatever pinnacle power gear you get that you don't need to put into anything for your go-to builds, instead of dismantling, I recommend putting them into your exotic armor and your exotic weapons. The reason for this is experimentation is kind of the mantra of contest mode. We have a pretty decent understanding, we, the collective we of the community, have a pretty decent understanding nowadays of meta for weapons and DPS weapons and things. We still get surprised here and there. I really don't think people expected Thunderlord, for example, to be as good as it was in contest mode Root of Nightmares, but it was very good, and it still is very good. So, some things will still surprise us, but we do have a pretty good idea. This is why builds have specific exotic armor pieces for them, right? And why they are paired with some exotic weapons. For example, Cold Heart I use on my Arc Warlock because it just complements Fallen Sunstar with more ionic traces and whatnot, and it just works really well. In any case, while that's all very well and good, having something in your back pocket to swap to when it's time to experiment can be the play. A good example of this, and that has been done by a lot of players and for different contest mode stuff, has been Risk Runner. Risk Runner is not most people's go-to to have at the ready all the time, but it's a good one to have in your toolbox for contest mode. If it's an arc-rich environment, it can provide really nice little buff to yourself and do pretty good work for itself. So just keep things like that in mind, right? I know as a Warlock, I don't use Sanguine Alchemy, not because I think it's bad, I think it's great. Actually, I just don't have it in any of my builds or a reason to personally. But I have it at pinnacle power ready to go just in case I want to swap to it, because I might be in a situation in the raid where, you know what, this might prove to be a better call. So having those in your back pocket, in your toolbox to bust out as needed is going to really help you develop the mindset for contest mode, which is patience and experimentation. Yes, we know this raid, whatever it's going to be, it's a legend raid, so it's existed before. We know that. It doesn't mean we're going to breeze through it. It does mean we're going to have a bit more confidence going in. It does mean we're going to be able to attack it and figure things out a bit quicker, but it does not mean that we are going to breeze through it. So patience is a virtue and important in contest mode raiding. Alongside that patience, what else is important is an open mind to try things out. When I was in contest mode Vault of Glass, Templar was the wall, right? Contest modes tend to have a wall. This is an encounter that blocks a lot of teams from moving forward. From my understanding in Vault of Glass contest mode, it was Templar. Now my team got stuck on Atheon. It wasn't a 48-hour thing, it was still only a 24-hour contest mode. We were a random group from LFG. So we did really good, all things considered. And we probably could have got Atheon if we just had more time. But in any case, once the contest mode was off, we did it just fine. The point is this. Templar, to get back to that, was considered a wall for a lot of people. But the team I was on was very open-minded to trying things out and experimenting, and we ultimately succeeded in defeating Templar without any Wells of Radiance. We had 2 Warlocks. We eventually swapped off of that and found a much more beneficial setup through Chaos Reach for ad clear to get through the in-between phases of damage phase, and then the rest of the team using their supers and weapons, while the Warlocks should use their weapons to burst down Templar while only blocking 1, maybe 2 teleports at a time. My point is, in all that little tangent, was that we experimented. Logic would dictate to stay on well, it's survivable, it's nice, and that's true. But it wasn't working out for us. We'd stay alive, we just weren't getting the damage we needed. So Or we were using up too many revives to get to damage phase or whatever during contest mode. So experimentation is going to be key. The meta will still be there. The meta doesn't go out the window because it's a legend raid on contest mode, but there is a lot more gray area wiggle room in something like this. So with that understanding, develop that toolbox with your gear, potentially stock up on bounties to kickstart your artifact mod acquiring and your season pass levels at the start of season 22, and just understand that contest mode is not something to just breeze through. This is something that will require a methodology to it. It will require communication. It will require patience. Basically understand this. You will wipe a lot. It's just the way it is. So hopefully that might have been somewhat helpful for you. I am definitely curious in your thoughts for how you prepare for contest mode and what you think about that. Are you getting ready for contest mode for this raid? Whatever it might be, share it all in the comment section down below. Thanks so much for tuning in and stopping by. I'll have a link in the video description section for my thought discussion video on what I was kind of thinking about what the legend raid could be. I did that a little bit ago, so we'll see how off the mark I am once we officially find out. But if you're curious for something like that, I'll put a link in the video description section. And once we get the raid announced officially, whatever legend raid it might be, I'll do a follow-up to be more in-depth. Maybe more than one video, but at the very least one to kind of specifically talk preparation with that raid in mind. And of course, contest mode, being aware of that as well, because that's a big thing in the beginning. Anyways, long story longer, right? Thanks so much for tuning in, and until next time, Guardians, stay frosty.